All right. Hey guys, so this is a pretty action-packed little video. We're going to focus on three different things. The first thing is passing in parameters through our URL routes. The second thing is we're going to pass through this context dictionary that allows us to print things in our template. And then the third thing is that we're going to talk about and add static files to our templates. All right, so I know it's a lot of information, but let's just get going. So again, I'm just going to start the project from the beginning. So Django -admin, start project, and let's call this main2 because we already had a main1. Then we're going to go into main2. And again, if we look inside of there, we have manage.py and main2. Let's make a new directory called apps. Let's go into that apps directory. Let's touch __init.py to tell us that we are able to access this as a Python file and a Python module. Then let's go up and say, let's make ourselves a new Django app. Oops, Python manage py, start app, and let's call it a second app because we already had it as a first app. Great. And then so let's go back up. Now so we're back at apps main2 manage py, and let's start Atom at that point. Because what we need to do at this point is basically take our app and make sure that it's accessible to our server when we run our server. So to do that, we go up over into settings and we say, hey, let's go to apps and add second app as a possibility to look at. And we need to have a comment in this list. Great. So we also need to say, hey, when we go to the root route, or we look at this first piece of information, which is nothing, let's go ahead and include apps.second app. And we want to go and get the URLs file from that module. Great. So we want to do that. And obviously, if we're going to use a method here, we're going to have to include that method. So include. So URLs one method from Django config URLs, included a second method from Django config URLs. Excellent. So we have both of those things. We don't really need to use admin at this point, so let's get rid of it. And perfect. So now we can go over to our second app and make a new file inside of second app called urls.py. Awesome. And urls.py sitting there, empty. We're going to just paste this stuff in because we need this URL. And so just a little bit of less typing. And if we just go to the root, we're going to do the same thing we've been doing before, which is we want to go and load views.index. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. But obviously I'm missing something at this point. What I'm missing is I don't even know what views is because I have not declared this variable. So I need to declare that variable from .import views. And remember, this is our controller file. So this is where a lot of the methods are that are going to control what views we render, what models we go to, and all that fun jazz. Excellent. So we need to go into views. Great. So we've got render, def index takes a request object, and then it's going to return render, and the first parameter that gets passed in here is request. The second one is what view we are actually going to render. So we want to go into templates, and then second app, and then go into index.html. And we're going to pass in this interesting context dictionary. So context at this point is going to be a dictionary, and it's going to have a couple of keys in it. First key, email, and I'm just going to make up a fake email, blob@gmail.com. The second parameter that we're going to pass in is name and Mike. Whoops, name. So that's the key. And we're going to pass in Mike. Perfect. So we have this context dictionary, which is getting passed as context, and this is an optional parameter that's a keyword argument. So if you have a key of context, then it will basically replace what had been null with whatever this context is. Excellent. All right, so let's go ahead and see what happens when we try to deal with this. And this is kind of two of the big pieces that I wanted to talk about today. And then the last one is going to be basically passing parameters through our routes. Actually, this is only one of the three pieces that I want to talk about. So I might split this up into two videos, actually. So let's make a new folder and make this folder templates inside of our second app. And we want a second app folder inside of that. Excellent. And then inside of that, we want to say, hey, let's make ourselves a new file. And let's make that new file inside of second app called index.html. Right? So templates it automatically finds. So it automatically finds this whole root app, second app templates, and then second app index.html. Perfect. All right. And in our index.html, let's go ahead and use, first of all, let's just say hello world. And then we're going to use the Django templating engine, which looks a lot like Django 2, but it's not exactly the same. But what happens with that context dictionary that we pass through in our views, in that controller? This context dictionary here, what's going to happen with it is that it's going to get depacked and give us access to these two keys, email and name. All right, so going into our templates, index.html. So we should be able to print out email, and we should be able to print out name. All right, so let's give this a shot, and then I'm going to pause it there, and then I'm going to do the next two videos as separate chunks for each of these two pieces, but starting from where we're at. All right, so Python manage py run server. So that's fine. Unapplied migrations, whatever. Remember, we can get rid of those if we do Python make migrations and then Python manage py migrate. So we'll deal with those for session variables. We don't have any session variables just yet. All right. So there's our template being rendered. So we got our hello world, and we pass those two context objects through. So blob at Gmail and Mike. Perfect. So I'll stop there, and then we're going to jump into the next part, which are going to be passing in parameters. So if we type in something like users /12, or 123 in this case, because I can't type, that we can do something with this 123 as an argument that's going to come to us. And then the second thing that we want to do is we want to go ahead and play around with loading static views and static files. Great. All right.